One of the things that I find so amazing about martial arts is even though you can compete with other people, it's one of the most amazing ways of testing yourself. So much of life is like managing the internal. So I know I've had so many conversations with people who are like, "Oh, I would love to do MMA, but I just think I'd get too angry if I got punched in the face." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. I don't have an emotional response to that."
Welcome back to United States of Sweat, presented by Choose the Hard Way. We've got an incredibly special episode today. This is the series where politicians and policymakers join us to share stories about fitness, health, and the sports they love playing. Sharice Davids is a congresswoman from Kansas, just across the state line from my hometown of Kansas City, Missouri. She's a former White House fellow, a lawyer, and most significantly for this conversation, a former mixed martial arts fighter with 7 fights under her belt, including 2 professional bouts. I guess, actually, she's still a mixed martial arts fighter. She's just no longer competing in the octagon or whatever other format she may have competed in previously. I'm here today with Jonathan Kaplan. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm great. Good to be here.
Jonathan, it's great to have you here. Great to see that you're slowly recovering from overdosing on Normatec bouts during our time down at Pace Ranch in Tucson. Jonathan, of course, is the founder of Right Cadence Strategies. He helps organizations navigate DC, shape policy, and manage reputational risk. And Jonathan, where can people find your Substack?
They can go to ridingwithkaplan.substack.com.
And what are you writing about over there?
I focus on professional cycling and the media, business, and culture. So where bikes intersect with real life.
All right. Well, if you're able to physically ride your bicycle within Substack, which is what it sounded like, that would be even more impressive. Wherever you are, whoever you are, you're listening to this show because you know that hard things build stronger humans who have more fun. Humans like Jonathan Kaplan and Sharice Davids. Jonathan, of course, the big trip up Mount Lemmon, down in Tucson, still fresh on his mind. Go ahead and take a moment to hit subscribe wherever you listen and leave a review. It helps more people find this show and it makes you a better human. You can go to alwaysthehardway.substack.com to get my thoughts about these interviews and become a paid subscriber if you're an extra special human, because it helps me bring this show to you and to do more of it. You know, Jonathan, for senior executives, professional athletes, and political leaders, podcasts aren't optional anymore. It's something that everyone has to be great at. And guess what? Not everyone is great at them. And that's why at One Real Voice, I work selectively with senior leaders who know that they must be great at these high-stakes, open-ended, long-form conversations, things like podcasts, town halls, panels. If that's you and you're truly ready to be great and put in the work, you can DM me at HardwayPod or shoot an email to hello@onerealvoice.com. Jonathan, before we jump in, I want to thank the sponsor of today's show, my title sponsor, blockchain.com. If you're crypto curious, then you need to go to blockchain.com. With over $1 trillion in transactions to date, blockchain.com is your trusted partner on your crypto journey. Thanks also to Lauf Cycles, who make one of the favorite bikes I've ever owned, the Lauf Sigla, which is behind me and which I might be riding soon in an atmospheric river in the Bay Area by the time this is out. I may actually be swimming. Jonathan, this interview with Sharice, I have to say, this is exactly the kind of conversation I really hoped that we would be having with an actual elected official when we came up with the idea for this series. Now, a full year ago, we're realizing the vision. What was your favorite thing that we talked about in this interview?
First, I think there were a couple things. You know, she's disarming. She's refreshingly candid for a politician. She speaks like a real human being. And I know to be a successful politician, not just to get elected, but to get stuff done, you need to be a great storyteller. And she is a really good storyteller. And it's really fun to listen to her because you would ask a question and she would sort of start somewhere. You weren't quite sure where it was going, but she would bring you back to the main point. And it was a fun journey So I thought for me, it was a really enjoyable conversation.
Jonathan, we all have that workout that we look back on, probably with a buddy, and we think, that was just extra terrible. That was maybe the worst thing I've ever done, and I'm so glad that I did it. And when Sharice shared a story in this interview about one of those moments that she had, it's something that I'm actually never going to forget. And I don't think you will either after you listen to this episode. And Jonathan, to your point, I think what I enjoyed the most about this was that Sharice did show up as a real and fully dimensionalized human being and not as a talking points robot. This is exactly what I work with senior leaders on through my consultancy, One Real Voice. It's about being able to manage your state, being a great storyteller, and being able to draw people in through your capacity to actually go wherever the conversation takes you. And boy, this conversation took us in some pretty interesting directions, and I think it's time to dive in. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right. Before we do, though, Jonathan, if people want to support your Normatech addiction, the number one thing they can do, become a subscriber, a paid subscriber to Writing With, and you can find me as well, alwaysthehardway.substack.com, where I'm intermittently sharing my thoughts on mindfulness, life, and doing hard things. And you can find me on social media at HardwayPod. I don't think we can say that enough times. Jonathan, I know that you have many aliases as a person of mystery. What is the alias people should find if they want to connect with you?
You can go to writingwithkaplan.substack.com. I don't want to be controversial here or a jerk, but don't follow me. Don't just subscribe unless you're going to pay. I'm tired of getting these people who subscribe to 99 Substacks and then like, oh, we'll subscribe to this one too. No way you're reading my stuff. Just no way. So if you want to subscribe and pay for it, join the fun. Otherwise, you can write me now. You can write me nasty notes on my LinkedIn profile or Instagram at Johnny99Kaplan.
Wow, we're gonna have to take this offline. I want to see what kind of nasty note on LinkedIn, because I'm just getting a lot of B2B enterprise SaaS people who want to connect with me and sell me something that will automate some part of my enterprise workflow that doesn't actually exist, because I'm highly selective and I work with a handful of extremely high-profile people. So let's go ahead and dive into this interview with Sharice Davids.
You are our first guest who's a sitting member of Congress, an actual elected official. These days, like, what's a typical workout? What are you doing?
I mean, I gotta get in whatever I can get in when I can get it in, I guess. But I would say this this year has been surprisingly a lot of pickleball, which um I'm okay. I do feel like I need to explain why I'm out here playing a bunch of pickleball. So I remember a couple of years ago, there's someone on my team, like she's on my she works in the district office and she's obsessed with pickleball. And she was like, Sharice, you got to get out here and play pickleball. You're gonna love it. Cause I played tennis in high school and then 1 year in college. And I was like, yeah, I like it. And I'm currently obsessed with table tennis or ping pong. I say ping pong, but I have a table, and apparently you're supposed to say table tennis if you have a table. So I literally was like, I don't know, pickleball. It felt like it sounded a little bit silly to me. I'm just being candid. And I was like, I don't know. I used to get punched in the face for like fun. I don't know if you're going to have me out here playing something called pickleball. And then we did it as like a team outing. Like we had like a strategic planning retreat for all the DC folks came out to Kansas, and our whole office did an outing, and we did pickleball. And it turns out I really like pickleball. So I actually play pickleball somewhat regularly at the house gym here. And it's one of the things that ends up being like a bipartisan thing, which is kind of funny because, DC is not even really set up for that. it's set up for bipartisanship. But like you said, and why I think this is so cool is because like if it's when you're talking about the gym or working out, it can be. So these days it's like even if I have to go up, I'll jump on my bike and ride up to the house gym at like 9:30 if that's the only time I have available. And really I just do like some kind of basic lifting, um but not like, bro, do you even lift type of lifting. I just like, I'll do the bench press, I'll do some squats, I do curls. Like I'm doing like just like some basic weights. And then for cardio, the rowing machine, um, the Peloton, or something like that, that's like the most generally the most stuff that I'm doing is partly because there's not time, there's not a schedule or you know like a regimented way that I can do this because like every single day feels like a completely different kind of day.
Yeah,
It's
I actually
tough to
just
manage.
did an episode about
Yeah.
how our idea of what a workout looks like shifts over time as we take on more and more responsibility in our professional and adult lives. And,
Yeah.
for someone like you who used to be an elite athlete, what did you used to think was the minimum unit of time you needed to get in a workout?
Um, that's a really good question. It's so strange because I don't know that I really thought of it that way because there were so many times in my life where actually everything else happened around me working out. So it was oops, hopefully I didn't just okay. Okay, everything's fine. I touched my AirPod and then it was like boop boop boop. So like I got a job once delivering wine, like cases of wine, because I wanted to have a job where I was like moving all day so that if I didn't have enough hours to do all the working out I wanted to do, at least I knew I was moving all day. So I like unloaded all the wine. I I put it in my van. I drove all around. So I was like moving basically 35 to 70 pounds all day at a time. So it's so interesting. I don't know if I ever thought about it that way of like minimum amount of time, but like probably an hour would be the unit that I would think in, if that makes sense. So mostly because of the type of training that I did when I first started martial arts. I did capoeira, and then which is a Brazilian martial art. It's where breakdancing came from. Um, and the classes are 2 hours. And then when I did other types of like combative style of taekwondo, submission grappling, most of the time those classes are in 1 hour increments. So I think I probably think in 1 hour increments. And then I've just always been a huge tomboy and like did all like any kind of sports I could get into when I was like very young all the way through high school, but I played mostly soccer and tennis. And during those times, I mean, I got tennis lessons for a little while. I'm Ho-Chunk, which is a tribe in Wisconsin, but my tribe helped pay for me to get tennis lessons,
No.
which I think was like, I mean, because tennis is one of those sports that it's becoming more accessible now, but it was, and one of the reasons I didn't do martial arts when I was younger was because my mom couldn't afford it. It was just her raising me and my brother. So I played tennis and those are in 1 hour. It's a very long answer. I'm sorry.
No,
Next
that's
question.
okay. Because no, you had mentioned that these days you kind of don't know what your schedule might be day to day.
Yeah.
So what is the threshold for you to say, okay, I'm headed out for my workout, and what's the minimum amount of time
you might want to spend working out that makes you think this is a workout?
Oh, uh, I mean, I think you can get a good sweat in like 15, 20 minutes if you need to. Um, I mean, you can push yourself to where you want to vomit in like 4 minutes. You might injure yourself, but because I did used to have that. You did used to be my threshold of if I thought I had a hard workout or not was what did I vomit, or did I think I was did how long did it take me to stop feeling like I was going to vomit? Um, so for me, I would say if I had partly now because you gotta like change and not be all gross and like, so I feel like if you only have 45 minutes, that's cutting it close. But if I really needed to, if it was like, okay, I have 45 minutes, I can do this, then that would probably be sufficient. But the actual workout would probably be closer to 25 or 30 minutes. And then it would be like supersets, like lower weights, higher reps, no rest in between, that kind of thing. Because you can also do a good circuit in 30 minutes, 25 minutes. So you can do a good circuit in 16 minutes, I think. These are great questions. I should write this stuff down and try to think through it, actually.
Well, you're thinking through it on the fly and you're getting
That's
into
great.
workouts
Yeah.
when you can. Like, that's the key, right?
Yeah. I mean, I truly like, um, partly too, because when I was like really in MMA and doing my training, and I would travel to train with different people to learn different stuff and that kind of thing, there's this like, always be training mentality where, you know, like, like I'll be if I have like 6 minutes in between meetings in my office, sometimes people will come in my office and I'll be either like foam rolling or like trying to get a few push-ups in, partly too because it helps like keep getting your blood flowing, helps your brain. And so I also and I tell people this all the time, that you can it's not it's it can be just as useful to get your heart rate up for a few minutes as it is to go do a whole workout. It just depends on what's going on. And like you said, that comes, I think, from the constraints that get put on you as you get older, as you have more responsibilities in your life and that kind of thing.
And when you were training in MMA, like what did a standard week look like?
Um
Or is there such a thing?
so no, there was. I mean, I would get up, I'd have to get up to do the so basically I worked out like 6 days a week, but every single day wasn't like crazy, but it was I would get up at like 5 where I live. It was about 30 minutes to the gym, so I'd have like 30 minutes, but you have to get everything ready the night before. So like you get up at 5, you get ready, you head out, you work out from like 6 to 7. And for me, most of the time, that's when I got my cardio or like fitness type working out in. Um, and then in the evening after work, I would basically go and do and train for anywhere from like 6 to 9, or 7 to 10 or something. But that's like a lot of that would be like technique, so because MMA and also when I was doing this, sounds funny to say, back in the old days. But MMA has evolved so much over the years. Like the earlier MMA fighters, and this was true when I was training. Most of the people, it was like they came up in a specific martial art and then transitioned to MMA. Now I mean, I'm sure there are probably some, but like MMA fighters are MMA fighters from when they're kids. They start at an MMA gym. They start, and maybe they do have a stronger base in like jujitsu or Muay Thai or some other form of kickboxing, or Taekwondo or whatever. But they like start training immediately in MMA. And so the way my workouts used to look, it would be like, oh, today is it's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, it's stand up for an hour and then groundwork for an hour and then some sort of sparring or grappling or whatever. And then the next day it's grappling, stand up, and then sparring. And so it would be like they would all be happening, but in opposite ways. Now I think people just go to MMA class or, their training session or whatever. So that would be like the week. And then on Saturday, at least the way I used to do on Saturday, it would be some kind of like boot camp type workout, circuit or something. And then just hours of like just technique training. But the hard sparring days, when I would do hard sparring days for like if there was a fight coming up, that would usually happen on Saturday because then you take Sunday off. But then you got to be careful about like actually letting your body rest, which is when I say the technique stuff, like you're still moving, but you're not like, working out till you vomit.
Right. And at that time,
Which is a common theme I'm realizing. I also, well, I have a funny story about vomiting if you want to,
we always want to hear stories about vomiting.
So, the first couple of years of this job, I tried to, I was like, and especially during the first campaign, which was like crazy, but I would like still, I worked out a halfway decent amount. And then for me, and then I got elected and everything was crazy. It's really hard. So, but I was still getting like some workouts in. But then over time, it just got harder and harder to get those workouts in. So at the end of after one of my elections or re-elections, I should say, I was like, that's it. No matter what, I'm joining the gym. I'm going to get like a set of training sessions and I'm going to work out no matter what. Like, that's it. I'm just like ready to go. And I sign up for the gym. I get an email from his name's Ben. Love him to death. He's moved away now, but and I get an email that's like, "Hey, Sharice," which also because I'm in Congress now, it's really weird because a lot of times people are like very formal to start off with. So when I got an email that said, "Hey, Sharice," I was like, "Oh, who is this?" Because I'm thinking, "Oh, it's somebody that I like." I'm thinking like, "Oh shit, I'm being a jerk because I don't remember who this is." And then I'm like, "Oh no, he's a new he's somebody I haven't met before." Asking if I want to do a training session at the gym that I signed up for. And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. And I email back, I'm like, hey, Ben, thanks for reaching out. I'd love to come in for a session. He asked what am I interested in? And I said, I'm interested in Olympic lifting. Because I've always wanted to learn Olympic lifting. And his email response was, why don't you come in at this time? We're going to start off with an assessment. And I'm sure like this is it's like Vita, which I don't know if it's not like as fancy as Equinox, but it's a nice gym. And I was like, this guy's probably like Olympic lifting. Okay, Judy from accounting, like he didn't know anything about me. So then I get there and I'm like, oh, well, I used to do MMA and, I used to work out a lot. And then he's like, oh, great. So we start doing his assessment and he's like, oh, you're still pretty strong and blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, okay, we're going to do one more thing. You're going to love it, hate it. And I was like, what is it? It's the assault bike. So he tells me to, he's like, go, you got to get to 15 or whatever the number was, get to 15 as fast as you can. It could take a minute. It could take a minute and a half. The fastest any of my clients have ever done it is in 20 seconds. So you can imagine what I heard. Can I cuss on here?
Oh,
of
yeah.
course.
Let
Okay.
it rip. Yeah.
So you can imagine what I heard was 20 seconds or you ain't shit. So, even though I knew I was not in as good a shape as I have been in the past, I started just like, the assault bike is the one for folks who are watching who might not do it. It's the one with the wind thing. So I was going, and then I did it in 21 seconds. And he's standing there with a medicine ball, like in it, like, because he's probably going to have me do throws or something. And I got off the bike and he was like, wow, that was awesome. And then he starts to hand me the medicine ball. And I was like, no. And then I sat down. Well, first I like leaned over, and then I sat down, and then I laid down, and I was like, am I green? I think, do you have a trash bin? And then he's like, and I saw one, and I like reached over, and I just like was just getting sick and just like vomiting into the thing. And here's this dude with tats everywhere, just a massive dude doing like deadlifts, like just, and he sees me and he's like, get it. And I'm good. I'm good. And then of course, Ben, so sweet. He's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I always tell my trainers, like, you don't want them to vomit. And I was like, this is on me. I know what kind of shape I'm in. I heard the words you said, but I interpreted it as like 20 seconds or you ain't shit. And then he tells me the person who did 20 seconds was a former Navy SEAL. And I was like, see, that would have been good information for me to have as well. But yeah. So I think there's a disconnect sometimes between your brain and your body of it when you're used to working out really hard and then you switch back to real life, regular life, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't even remember why I
happens.
told you guys that.
It's a great story. We appreciate it. I wanted to ask, so you mentioned you started out with capoeira, and as you noted, you got into martial arts kind of late in life for
Late,
someone who went
yeah,
on to
for
fight
sure.
professionally. Capoeira, battle dance, and then you
Yeah.
get into MMA. What's it like the first time somebody punches you in the face? Do you remember it?
Um, no, I don't really, but that's also because I mean, to my point about being kind of a tomboy growing up, I was also the kind of like, I knew I wanted to do martial arts, and was obsessed with Bruce Lee and stuff. And so, um, you know, I'm old enough where I'm sure, I was roughhousing and stuff when I was a kid. Um, what I remember uh was once I actually started like got going, I remember the first couple of times when I was trying to learn how to slip, and um I had the kind of coach where he I had the kind of coach that you either love or you hate, which I love. And so he would have us do, I mean, I think it's a pretty basic boxing fundamentals training where you stand like you have you're against a wall, basically your foot's up against the wall and you're learning to slip and you have somebody punching at you, and if you do it wrong you get hit. Now you don't get knocked out, or you shouldn't, but I remember doing those and realizing that like the feedback you're getting is getting hit. Like and it's a very effective feedback. So, like once you start trying to learn, if you keep getting popped, you do something and you get popped, then it's like, oh, I really got to like and figure out and practice how to do that. And I think one of the things that I find so amazing about martial arts is even though you can compete with other people, it's like, it's kind of like it's one of the most amazing ways of testing yourself because you can both compete against other people and you can figure like so much of life is like managing the internal. So I know I've had so many conversations with people who are like, "Oh, I would love to do MMA, but I just think I'd get too angry if I got punched in the face." And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I don't have an emotional response to that. Like, and I don't remember ever having an emotional response to it. I have an emotional response to not doing, like, if I was doing the slip drill and I kept getting hit with the same thing, I wouldn't be mad because I was getting hit. I would be mad because I wasn't. It's like, what is, what am I doing? Like, why am I not? And so I think that, like, the thing that I love about that, and the concept of like getting punched in the face, I think most people probably imagine the response is like, but it's actually like, oh, I wonder what I'm doing, what do I need to do different so that I'm not getting hit. And then I also think there's an element too of different martial arts have different kind of like a different ethos, all hard work, all discipline. Like there's some things that are very similar, but if you think about like capoeira, and for folks who haven't watched it, I would encourage you to go look at it. It looks the way it looks, and the reason that capoeira has music elements and dance elements is because the point was to disguise the fact that you're learning a martial art. And because the people who were enslaved in Brazil were not allowed to learn any kind of martial arts, so they disguised it and learned how to throw a punch or how to hit somebody with like different parts of your body, but also moving in ways that you wouldn't necessarily connote with like hurting someone. And so it looks a lot like this. It's a lot of like going with the flow. And that's actually what jujitsu, I do Brazilian jujitsu, not Japanese jujitsu, but like Brazil, it looks a lot like this. It's like, oh, you're moving, I'm going to move with you. And then I'm going to try to figure out how to navigate this situation. And then wrestling, which I had a MMA coach for a little while that was actually his base was wrestling. And I mean, amazing workout, amazing techniques that you learn. And also wrestling is like this, it's like you're grinding it out. And jujitsu is like, oh, you're pushing me this way, I'm also going to go this way, and we'll see what happens. And so I think that um the what was the question?
I like where we're going. Keep going.
Just keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
But so like every single martial art has a different mindset. And so I think, oh, I know. So I think when people think of getting punched, it's I imagine that most people probably do think more of their emotional reaction before what their physical reaction would be, and response. Because the thing that I always tell people about either punching or getting punched, I think most times people think like, oh, you get punched in the face, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right.
The reason that's a saying is because it has an impact on your emotional state more so than your physical state. Unless you get knocked out, then you're not having any kind of reaction except for sleep. But this is one of the reasons that I feel like martial arts is like such an amazing, and sports in general. Actually, I say martial arts because that's the thing that I've connected with the most. But part of the reason I only played 1 year of tennis in college is because I couldn't win a match. Like it's mental. So much of it is mental. And it was I was a walk-on, so it was a very expensive hobby. I was like, if I'm going to lose a bunch of matches, I can just go join a league. So
What were you doing? What was the mental mistake you kept making? Or was there more than one?
No, I think that one of the things we talk about a lot in my office is how I'm a counterpuncher. Like it's my natural inclination. And I use that phrasing because I'm used to talking about things in the context of martial arts, fighting, MMA, whatever. But I think it's just like my personality type, like um I'm not going to come out of the gate being super aggressive with somebody. And if you're super aggressive with me and I have to stand up for myself, I'm going to do that. If I think that, like, there's something there, and I didn't spend the time, as much as I love tennis, I didn't have the obsession with it that I did with martial arts. And so I didn't spend the time to learn, like, what's going on. Like, I'm serving great today. I'm coming up to the net great today. I'm doing this. And I'm not winning, and I don't know why. And I didn't have I guess it didn't even occur to me. I didn't have the introspection about why,
And
which is a really interesting thing.
and what about coaching? You mentioned coaching earlier. What makes, do you have a great coach, and what makes a good coach in your view?
Wow. I actually think so much of that has to do with the relationship between the coach and the athlete, because I've had I mean, I've had people who, like, maybe they're not even the coach, it's somebody who's a little bit more senior than me in the school or whatever, that for whatever reason, when they could use the exact same words as the person teaching the class, and when they say it, I'm like, "Oh, I see what you're saying." Um, but I think some of it has to do with knowing what the athlete needs. Um, I had an instructor who I went to go train with, and I was ready. I was like, I'm ready for some intensity. And then when I got there, it was intense, and I think he wanted to see, like, how far he could push me. And he was like, like, your kicks look like shit, you're blah, 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 like this and this. And like every single day I trained I went to, Vancouver for a month and trained with some, like, really amazing capoeira, folks. And every single day I had to stay after, because I had to do 100 kicks on each side, like, and everybody in the school knew. And I was like, oh, what I appreciate is that he knows that I have the capacity to be to have, like, much better technique on these different things. And he's pushing me to do that. And I think that having a good coach who knows where is your, like, where's your current breaking point, and getting you, if if you're trying to be intense. Like, some people just want to go and work out, that's great. But, like, for me, like, he could tell, no, she's coming up here and she wants to train, she wants to get better, and I'm gonna put her through the ringer. And, like, not everybody would want that or respond well to that, and he didn't do that with everybody, but he did it with me. And I think that it really helped me. So I think the biggest thing is, I mean, of course, there's got to be baseline. Like, you got to be good. Like, you can't be out here being all crappy and then trying to coach other people. It's like, you have a good foundation. So every coach should have, like, really strong fundamentals. But I think it has more to do with being able to recognize the needs of the athlete.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
and these days, what do you struggle with? Is it like sleep, nutrition? I mean, we talked about the challenge of exercising and then
Oh,
time constraints.
um, I think stress has such a crazy impact on the human body. Like, it wears you out. It affects so much. I think that um the hardest thing is to avoid getting into those cycles where, you get, like, if you're stressed and you can't sleep, then you don't get up in time to do the things you need to do to make sure that you can get to the workout. Um and so I think that when things get off kilter for me, a lot of it is that I'm not being as mindful as I need to be about about managing my stress levels. And I I've only recently gotten into mindfulness. And when I say that, I mean like maybe the couple years, but maybe 10 years or something. I'm 45. So, in the last 10 years, I've gotten into it. And before that, the first time I learned about doing mindfulness and meditating and stuff, um, when I heard someone explaining like what you're actually trying to do, like you're trying to like recognize all these thoughts are going on, but you're really just trying to be present in your body and all this. I was like, oh, that sounds like what I feel like when I'm doing martial arts. Because, when you're training, if you're really just training and working on stuff, you're feeling your body, you're paying, you're like very in the moment and in your body. And when I start noticing things getting off kilter, it's it's usually from my perspective, it's like, oh, I need to stop and breathe. I need to like, whatever, do a body scan, or sometimes I listen to a meditation or something like that. But I think it's like, again, it's like an internal, how do I manage what's going on in here? Because we don't have pretty much any control on over what's going on out here.
And how do you bring that mindfulness into every moment of the day? Because as you noted, the opposite of mindfulness is disconnection, I suppose. So how do you remember at those moments when that stress arises in your body, when it's easy for our mind to jump on the train and take off?
I mean, it's literally just practice and having, um, I'm a journaler. I journal a decent amount. And I've been doing that for maybe a little bit longer than 10 years, probably 15 years or something. And one of the things that I try to do is really be like intentional. It's like what do I want to be intentional about today? And all of this, has happened over years and years of practicing it. So um humble brag, I do a lot of therapy. When I was learning about certain techniques, um to try to make sure that you don't get too overwhelmed. I learned about like these different tapping things that you can do. You can also tap on your legs and stuff like that. But I try to remember to do that stuff. For a little while, I had a thing on my phone that would say that because in this job is probably in this job is probably the first time in my life as my professional life where it has felt like like just you don't even know what to concentrate on because it feels like there's so much. And my team knows me really well, so they know like if they open the door to my office and I'm like, it's because I'm just trying to everything's fine. I'm just like I'm trying to make sure to get back into my body and recognize that the things that we're dealing with are really big and really important. And also, like, you got to put your mask on first. And if I'm too stressed out to concentrate, how am I going to be of service in my job that I have right now? And it carries over into my personal life for sure, where, I like if I'm feeling frustrated about something. Oh, actually, even dumb stuff. I bought uh a mount for my TV, and I was putting it together, and it's like a tripod mount so that I can like turn it. And I put the thing together without the TV on the brackets. Everything worked fine. We get the TV on there and it won't like set right. And I'm sweating holding the TV, and I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. Okay, hold on. I need to breathe. Let me just breathe. Everything is fine. Okay, I'm just feeling very stressed. And so like I try to literally anytime I'm feeling, I literally will say, okay, I can tell I'm stressed out. I need to stop and breathe for a second. And then I try to carry on. And if it needs more than that, then sometimes I'll be like, I need to sit here for a second. I need to just stop and I'll sit and close my eyes and breathe and do the stuff where it's like, okay, I can feel my body, I can feel my breath and that kind of thing.
Life is better with mindfulness, and I think it's better because we've gotten to have this conversation today. So thanks so much for making time and for sharing your story with us. And hopefully at some point we'll get to join you in the gym and we can all
Oh
vomit
yeah,
together.
I would like that. I would no.
We're not doing
I like
we're
it.
not doing the Chris Cillizza stuff, okay? I'll work out with you. I'm not doing the Chris Cillizza stuff, all right?
We're
I'm
gonna,
trying. I have limits.
Yeah.
I have my dignity, okay? I'm not
Yeah.
going to look like that.
But I also
The nice thing
think
What?
Jonathan and I also walk away from this interview today with a great drill we can do the next time we're together. I'm going to put Jonathan against the wall and see if he can slip my jab.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
I can move.
Just keep in mind, you
You've
move
never
with the
seen
hips.
Yeah. You've never
Keep the
seen a
shoulder.
white Jewish guy move like me. I mean, I can move for 53.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing you on the mat.
Yeah.
Also, jujitsu, by the way, is a lifetime sport. Anybody can do it at any age.
Thanks for listening to Choose the Hard Way. Please take 3 seconds and hit 5 stars and subscribe wherever you listen. If you're a senior executive who's serious about becoming a world-class communicator, One Real Voice is here to help. DM me at HardwayPod to learn more or send an email to hello@onerealvoice.com. With over $1 trillion in transactions to date, blockchain.com is your trusted partner on your crypto journey. Go to blockchain.com to get started today. No experience required. Lauf bikes are elegant. They're fast. They're a lot of fun to ride. And that's why when I ride, I Lauf. On gravel, I'm on the Lauf Segla. On road, I'm on the Lauf Utald all road. They're elegant products that just work better than everything else. You can find them at laufcycles.com. Thanks for listening.